The Brewers take on the Cubs game one, and that's going to be a 2:20 p.m. Eastern start time in the first of a doubleheader. Milwaukee's minus 220, total 7.5. And if you like the Cubbies in an upset in this one, they're plus $1.90 for some money line cash. Now they're also plus 105, catching the 1.5 on the run line. Justin Steele's the starter for Chicago. Freddie Peralta for Milwaukee. And following yet another winning day on my Patreon website yesterday, we improved to 4-0 in our last 4 extra daily picks on that Patreon page. And if you want to access today's extra daily pick, it's only going to cost you just $2.99. We're also 2-0 in our last two $1.99 daily best plays on that Patreon page as well. And if you want to access today's $1.99 daily best play, it's only going to cost you just $1.99. Now, we currently have over 775 members who are signed up and active on that Patreon site. And if you want to see which one of these YouTube picks I'm actually betting on personally, the link for that page is in the description section below. That's patreon.com/BrockPage. Now, the first place Brewers are 20 games above 500, and they have one of the best road records in the National League. Milwaukee's currently 34-19 when they travel, and they lead the majors in fewest road hits allowed. Milwaukee's giving up only 3.3 runs a game away from their home field. They also have Freddie Peralta on the mound, who's 8-3 on the year, along with a 2.21 ERA. Milwaukee is taking on a Chicago club who's on a 4-game losing streak, and they also dropped 8 out of their last 10 ball games. The Chicago lineup is in the bottom 5 in hits on average per contest, and they're also averaging nearly double-digit strikeouts a game at the plate. Meanwhile, pitching-wise, the Cubs are giving up almost 4 walks a game as well. Now, total-wise, Chicago saw 3 out of their last 4 at Wrigley get over the line. Milwaukee's 3-1 to the over in their last 4 road games as well. I'm going to lean toward the Milwaukee Brewers minus 1.5 and the over 7.5 in game 1. Next contest, Angels Blue Jays game 1, and that's going to be a 6:07 Eastern first pitch in game 1 of their doubleheader. Toronto's minus 170, total 7.5. Steven Matz for Toronto, Chris Rodriguez for Los Angeles. Now, the Angels are the official away team, although game 1 is being played at Angel Stadium. LA has Chris Rodriguez on the mound, and he comes into today's contest with a 3.86 ERA and just 1 loss thus far in the year. Despite being the official away team in this one, the Angels are in the top 5 in scoring at home. Shohei Ohtani's hit 37 home runs and knocked in 82. He's currently leading the majors in home runs, 3rd in RBI, and he's also 3rd in OPS. While David Fletcher's 10th in the bigs in batting average, the third baseman's currently hitting .308 with 23 doubles. The Angels have gotten the W in 4 out of their last 6 ball games. They're taking on a Toronto team here who's got a losing record on the road when facing American League opponents. And once again here, guys, despite them being the official home team in this one, Toronto's playing game 1 at Angel Stadium. And I'll tell you what, as good as these guys are at the plate, this Blue Jays lineup, they do rank in the bottom 5 in walks per game at the plate when traveling. Now, Steven Matz comes into today's contest with 6 losses on the year, along with a 4.30 ERA. Now, the lefty's also got a whip of just 1.37. And when it comes to the number in this one, the Jays saw 7 out of their last 10 ball games stay under the number. The Angels are 70% to the under in their last 10 themselves. I'm going to lean toward the LA Angels plus 1.5 and the under 7.5 runs. Next ball game, Tigers, Orioles, 7:05 Eastern Standard Time. Both teams are minus $1.10 with the total at 10, juice to the over. Casey Mize for Detroit, Keegan Aiken for Baltimore. Now, Aiken's 0-5 on the year, 7.66 ERA, and a 1.74 whip. The last place Orioles have the fewest wins in the American League, and they currently find themselves 34 games below 500. Baltimore is also winning just 33% of their home games, and they also allow more runs at home per game than any other team in the majors. They're taking on a Detroit club who won 4 out of their last 7, and they're led by Jonathan Scope, who's in the top 25 in the game in batting average. The second baseman's hitting .288 with 18 homers and 64 RBI. Meanwhile, pitching-wise, Casey Mize comes into today's contest with 6 wins and a .357 ERA. Now, the righty's also fanned 90 batters and has a 1.13 whip. When it comes to the total in this one, Detroit's 33-24 to the over when they bat first. Meanwhile, Baltimore saw their last 3 straight at Camden Yards get over the line. I'm going to lean toward the Detroit Tigers minus about 10 in the over 10 runs. Next ball game, Dodgers, Phillies, 7:05 East. The LA Dodgers are minus 165, totals 8.5. Max Scherzer for the Dodgers, Aaron Nola for the Fightins. And speaking of the Fightins, they've won their last 8 straight. First place in the NL East now. Philadelphia is also winning over 61% of their ball games at Citizens Bank Park. And their pitchers are in the top 10 in striking batters out at home. Aaron Nola's punched out 152 batters in just over 126 innings of work. He's got 7 wins on the year along with a 1.16 whip. Philadelphia's taking on a Dodgers club who's in the bottom half of the league in strikeouts at the plate. Meanwhile, pitching-wise, they're also in the bottom half of the league in road walks. And of course, the Phillies are used to seeing Max Scherzer a handful of times a year as he was just recently traded out of the NL East, so it's certainly a pitcher they're used to seeing. Of course, when it comes to the total in this one, 4 out of LA's last 5 road games got over the line. 26-20 to the over against the National League on the road. I'm going to lean toward the Philadelphia Phillies plus 1.5 in the over 8.5 runs. Next ball game, Cards, Pirates, 7:05 Eastern start time. The St. Louis Cardinals are minus 140, totals 9.5. Jay Happ for St. Louis. Stephen Brault for Pittsburgh. Now, Brault's just 4 innings. He's got just 4 innings under his belt this year for the last place Pirates. Pittsburgh has the second fewest wins in the National League, and they currently find themselves 30 games below 500. Now, Pittsburgh also scores fewer runs than any other team in the majors. They're taking on a Cardinals club who won 2 out of their last 3. They rank in the top 10 in fewest strikeouts at the plate. Nolan Arenado has hit 22 home runs and knocked in 68. The third baseman is actually in the top 20 in the majors in RBI. Meanwhile, pitching-wise, veteran Jay Happ has a 3.60 ERA with his new team. The Cards pitchers are in the top 10 in fewest hits allowed per 9. Now, when it comes to the scoring in this one, 2 out of Pittsburgh's last 3 home games stayed under the line. 60% to the under in their last 10 meetings with St. Louis. I'm going to lean toward the St. Louis Cardinals, minus 140, and the under 9.5. Next ball game, A's versus the Indians, 7:10 p.m. East. The Oakland A's are minus 145, numbers 9. Sean Manaea for Oakland, Tristan McKenzie for Cleveland. Now, McKenzie's just 1-5 with a 5.89 ERA and a 1.36 whip. Meanwhile, offensively, the Indians are averaging under 7.7 hits a game. They're taking on an Oakland club who's on a 4-game winning streak. And they also got the job done in 8 out of their last 10. The A's are just 2 games behind the first place Astros. They find themselves 16 games over 500 for the entire season. His Oakland pitching staff is holding their opponents to only 3.6 runs a game when they travel. They also have Sean Manaea on the mound, who's got 8 wins on the year, along with a 3.26 ERA. Now, the lefty struck out 141 batters and also has a 1.17 whip. When it comes to the total in this one, 3 out of Oakland's last 5 road games stayed under the line. Meanwhile, the Indians went 60% to the under in their last 10. I'm going to lean toward the Oakland A's, minus 145, and the under 9 runs. Next ball game, Rays versus the Red Sox, 7:10 East. The Boston Red Sox are minus $1.25, totals 10. Eduardo Rodriguez for Boston, Luis Patino for Tampa Bay. Now, Patino's averaging over a strikeout an inning. He's got himself a 1.20 whip on the season. The first place Rays are also 4 games ahead of Boston in the standings, and they're winning 60% of their contests on the road. The Rays are also on a 4-game winning streak, and they're in the top 3 in road scoring. Brandon Lau, he's hit 24 home runs and knocked in 61. Now, the second baseman is 13th in the league in home runs. Meanwhile, Austin Meadows is 7th in the league with 77 RBI. This Tampa Bay lineup is in the top 5 in road hits. They're taking on a Red Sox club who allows nearly double-digit hits a game at Fenway. This Boston pitching staff is also in the bottom 10 in runs allowed. The Sox have lost 8 out of their last 10 ball games. And they also have Eduardo Rodriguez on the hill, who's got 6 losses along with a 5.33 ERA. The lefty's also got himself a 1.40 whip. Now, total-wise, the Rays went 70% to the over in their last 10 ball games, 3-0 to the over in their last 3 on the road. The Rays are also 74%. They saw 74% of their divisional road games get over the line as well. I'm going to lean toward the Tampa Bay Rays plus 105 in the over 10 runs. Next ball game, Nats Mets, 7:10 p.m. start. The New York Mets are minus 220, numbers 8.5. Carlos Carrasco for New York, Paolo Espino for Washington. Now, Espino's got a 3.66 ERA and a 1.10 whip. The Nationals also have a winning record against the number in their divisional contests. They're in the top 3 in road hits per game. Josh Bell has hit 19 homers and knocked in 60. Meanwhile, Juan Soto's 16th in the league with a 297 batting average. They're taking on a struggling Mets club who's on a 4-game losing streak, and they also lost 8 out of their last 10. New York also has a losing record against NL East opponents. It's a losing record against the number, and they've cashed in on the run line in just 36% of their divisional home games. Now, this Mets lineup scores fewer runs at home than any other team in baseball. They're averaging only 3.4 runs a game in Flushing, Queens. They also have Carlos Carrasco on the bump here tonight, who doesn't even have 9 full innings under his belt this year. Now, total-wise, the Mets saw 7 out of their last 10 outings stay under the line, 3-0 to the under in their last 3 at Citi Field. Meanwhile, the Nats are 14-9 to the under in their divisional games on the road. I'm going to lean toward the Washington Nationals plus 1.5 and the under 8.5 runs. Next ball game, Reds Braves, 7:20 p.m. East. Both teams are minus $1.10, totals 9.5. Sonny Gray for Cincinnati, Drew Smyly for Atlanta. Now, Smiley's 7-3 on the year with 85 strikeouts. The Braves have also gotten the W in 5 out of their last 6 ball games. They're currently in the top 5 in home scoring. Freddie Freeman's hit 24 homers and knocked in 63. He's in the top 20 in batting average, homers, and OPS. Ozzie Albies is also 12th in the majors with 72 RBI. They're taking on a Cincinnati club who's in the bottom 10 in runs allowed. The Cincinnati pitching staff is also walking 4.1 batters a game. Now, Sonny Gray is just 4-6 on the season with a 4.44 ERA and a 1.40 whip. When it comes to the number in this one, 8 out of Cincinnati's last 10 ball games got over the line. Meanwhile, Atlanta went 7-3 to the over in their last 10 themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Cincinnati Reds minus $1.10 and the over 9.5. Next matchup, Yankees Royals, 8:10 Eastern first pitch. The New York Yankees are minus 150, totals 10 juice to the over. Nestor Cortez for the Yankees, Daniel Lynch for Kansas City. Now, Lynch is just 2-3 on the year, 6.00 ERA, and a 1.59 whip. The Royals lost 7 out of their last 10 ball games, and they're in the bottom 3 in walks allowed per contest. Kansas City is also in the bottom 5 in home hits allowed. They're taking on a red-hot Yankees club who won 8 out of their last 10 ball games. top 3 in the league in fewest walks allowed on the road. Nestor Cortez has yet to lose a game this season. He's got a 2.15 ERA and a 1.04 whip. Meanwhile, offensively, New York leads the majors in free passes at the plate. Aaron Judge has an 873 OPS. He's walked 49 times and also has 23 home runs on the season. Meanwhile, Giancarlo Stanton's hit 17 homers and knocked in 54. Now, total-wise, New York went 70% to the under in their last 10 outings. Kansas City 7-3 to the under in their last 10 themselves. I'm going to lean toward the New York Yankees minus 150 and the under 10 runs. Next matchup, Rockies Astros 8:10 p.m. East. The Houston Astros are minus 195, totals 8.5. Jake Odorizzi for Houston, John Gray for Colorado. Now, Johnny Gray's lost 7 games on the year, and the Rockies are still tied for the fewest road wins in the majors. This Colorado lineup averages the fewest road hits in the league as well. They're also scoring just 3.1 runs a game when they travel. They're taking on a first-place Houston club who leads the majors in both runs and hits themselves. Michael Brantley's first in the majors with a .329 batting average. Meanwhile, Yordan Alvarez is also 10th in the league with 74 ribbies. This Houston lineup has the fewest strikeouts at the plate as well. Meanwhile, pitching-wise, Jake Odorizzi has a 1.21 whip and 57 strikeouts. The Astros hold their opponents to only 7.4 hits a game. Now, when it comes to the scoring in this one, Houston went 60% to the over in their last 10 outings. Colorado's 7-3 to the over in their last 10 themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Houston Astros minus 1.5 and the over 8.5 runs. Next ball game, White Sox Twins 8:10 Eastern Standard Time. The Chicago White Sox are minus 155, numbers 10. Dallas Keuchel for the White Sox, Griffin Jax for Minnesota. Now, Jax is 2-1 on the year with a 1.25 whip. The Twins have won 4 out of their last 7 ball games, and they cashed in on the run line in 6 out of their last 10. This Minnesota pitching staff is in the top 10 in fewest walks allowed. They're taking on a Chicago club who averages nearly double-digit road strikeouts a game at the plate. Dallas Keuchel comes into today's start with a 4.44 ERA and a 1.33 whip. When it comes to the total in this one, 3 out of Chicago's last 4 road games got over the line. Minnesota's 70% to the over in their last 10 outings themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Minnesota Twins plus 1.5 and the over 10 runs. Next ball game, D-backs versus the Giants, 9:45 East. The San Francisco Giants are minus 215, totals 8. Alex Wood for San Francisco, Zach Gallen for Arizona. Now, Gallen's just 1-6 on the year, 4.62 ERA, and a 1.35 whip. The D-backs still have the worst record in Major League Baseball, and they give up more runs per contest than any other team. They're taking on a first-place Giants club who's 7-2 straight up in their last 9 ball games. League leaders in fewest home walks allowed. Alex Wood is 9-3 with 110 strikeouts. The Giants are allowing only 3.7 runs per contest for the entire year. Now, 2 out of San Francisco's last 3 home games got over the number. Arizona's 7-3 to the over in their last 10 themselves. Give me the Giants minus 1.5 in the over 8. Next game, Rangers-Mariners, 10:10 p.m. Eastern start time. The Seattle Mariners are minus 210, total 7.5. Logan Gilbert for Seattle, Colby Allard for Texas. Allard is just 2-10 on the year with a 5.07 ERA. The last place Rangers lost their last 6 straight, and they have the fewest road wins in the American League. Texas scores only 3.6 runs a game, and they're also in the bottom 3 in hits per contest. They're taking on a Seattle club who's 33-23 at home, top 10 in fewest home walks allowed. Logan Gilbert is 5-3 on the year with a 1.10 whip. The righties also struck out 79 batters in just over 67 innings of work. Now, when it comes to the total in this one, Seattle's 25-21 to the over in their divisional contests. Texas is 16 and 11 to the over in their divisional games on the road. I'm going to lean toward the Seattle Mariners -1.5. And the over 7.5. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our next and final matchup. It is going to be Marlins Padres 10:10 Eastern first pitch. San Diego Padres are -235, totals 8. Craig Stammen for San Diego, Braxton Garrett for Miami. Garrett's got just one win on the season, 1.59 whip. The last place Marlins are 19 games under 500, and they average double-digit strikeouts a game on the road. The Marlins are also scoring only 3.9 runs a game, and they're winning just 33% of their contests away from home. They're taking on a Padres club who's on a 3-game winning streak. They also get the job done in 63% of their contests at Petco Park. The Pods are striking out 10.3 batters a game at home. They're allowing only 3.7 runs a game as the home team. Craig Stammen, he's 5-2 on the year with a 2.71 ERA. The righty's averaging a strikeout an inning, and he has a 1.03 whip. I'm going to lean toward the San Diego Padres -1.5. And the under 8 runs. Of that, guys, we're going to jump into our quick pick recap. Powered to you by my Patreon website. I like Milwaukee -1.5, over 7.5 in Game 1. LA Angels +1.5, under 7.5 in Game 1. Detroit -110, over 10 runs. Philadelphia +1.5, over 8.5. St. Louis -140, under 9.5 runs. Oakland -145, under 9. Tampa Bay +105, over 10. Washington +1.5, under 8.5. Cincinnati -110, over 9.5 runs. New York Yankees -150, under 10. Houston -1.5, over 8.5. Minnesota +1.5, over 10 runs. San Francisco -1.5, over 8 runs. Seattle -1.5, over 7.5. Before I give you my next and final free pick for the video, one final reminder that we are 4-0 in our last 4 extra daily picks on my Patreon website. We're also 2-0 in our last 2 $1.99 daily best plays on that Patreon page as well. I'm going to lean toward the San Diego Padres -1.5. And the under 8 runs. Of that, guys, now it's time for our shout out of the day. And that goes to my man DJ Wavy, who said yesterday, start of a new week, let's get it, bro. Thank you for your services. God bless. And I'll tell you what, DJ Wavy, you've been a great commenter, a great viewer, and a crucial part of the Brock Page family. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on Patreon. Now, if you guys do end up getting if you're going to get a membership here today on that Patreon website, just keep in mind Patreon bills you the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. So if you do end up getting a membership, you're going to get access to that content all the way through the end of August. And as I say, the earlier in the month you sign up, the better. If you want to find out which one of these free YouTube picks I'm actually betting on personally, which games I actually have my action on, you got to check me out on Patreon. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. I really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. With that said, guys, happy Tuesday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.